Okay, so next thing I want to cover is the throwing exceptions. Um, so last week we covered exceptions, meaning when a program blows up, we want to be able to capture that and not let the user see any red. Remember how I saw some red stuff show up down here in the console? That says that was an exception. That means that the computer blew up, or I should say the program blew up, and that's all it did. It blew up and just gave a bunch of data. And if the user happened to use it, they would have no idea what to happen, wouldn't basically know what is going on. So whenever we do division, if I have one variable divided by another variable, we always want to capture that with an exception. Because if we try to divide by 0, that is the number one no-no in mathematical equations. And if we tried to do a division by 0, our program would blow up and it would die right where it is. So if I gave my user the option to type in two variables, two numeric variables, and then I let them do division on them, sure enough, our user would type in a 0 in one of those, and then we would try to do a division by 0, the program blows up, and then they would go, uh-oh, what's happening? So what we need to do is to be able to capture those types of errors. We can do that through the exception process. So if our user typed in a 0 in a numeric value, we could actually capture that in and try to do division. Our exception would catch that. We'd be able to display a message to the user saying, hey, make sure you don't type a 0 for this numeric value, blah, 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 and we could keep the program running. So, I want to kind of do a quick review of last week. Very simple. So here's this open file in chapter 11, and so here we have the user type in a value for the file name, and then here is our exception. First thing we do is we have a try clause, and the try says, hey, try this and see if it works. If it works, no big deal, it'll work, and that's it. But if there's an error, the catch statement will catch all errors. And we go ahead and say, hey, we're going to use the file not found exception, and that's another class that's built into Java, and we're going to go ahead and create an e-object from that. And so we're going to display file not found, and then we're going to display done. So if I were to run this guy, and it comes in, it says open a file, I'm just going to type in ABCD and click OK. It comes up and says file not found. Now, if I were to, I'm going to comment all this stuff out. But so it is going to just try to do an open here. What's going on there? What do you need? So, oh, because it's got the file, yeah. Will let me run it at least? Yeah. So, yeah. So notice down here in my, it's hard to see that that's red, that's all red text. The program just blew up. It said it couldn't find anything for that file name, and it just blew up. And again, a user would see that and go, what's going on? Something's wrong, I don't know what to do, and they're going to panic and jump ship. So again, we always need to try, so if there's ever a potential that the user can screw something up and do something wrong, we want to make sure we capture those items and allow the user to fix what needs to be fixed, and then giving them control back to the screen. Okay, so we use the try catch statement, and we use the E for the exception. We're actually going to say, okay, if there's an exception, it's probably a file not found exception. Okay. Some of the other ones we covered last week. Let's try the parse int error. So here I have a string called ABCDE. I created a variable called number. It's an integer data type. I say number is equal to integer dot parse string. Now, if this was a numeric value, this guy would work perfectly. But since it's letters, guess what's going to happen? We're going to get what's called a number format exception. Again, if we don't know what exception to use, we do have a standard exception that we can use. We'll see that here in a second. So when I run this guy, it comes up and says conversion error for input string ABCDE. So it tried this, got an error, so the catch caught it, and it goes ahead and displays conversion error e.getMessage. And the e.getMessage is this for input string, so conversion error for input string ABCDE. So try catch allows us to capture errors before the user basically sees all the red text down below. So sales report, let's take a look at sales report. So here we have sales report. It says string file name sales data. We got a decimal format dollar, so we're going to basically format our output into some type of numeric formatting. So here we got a try statement. This is where we try to open a file. We've got a loop where we basically read each record from the file, and we basically are getting some kind of a monthly total. And then we do an input file close. We get the average, then we display on the J-option pane. If any one of those things errors out, we will get a file not found exception, and that's where we will then display file not found, and none of this stuff up here gets executed. I also can do I can actually do more than one catch. This catches file not found. This catches input mismatch exception. Okay. So again, let me run this. Sales report Java. So it says the file salesdata.txt does not exist. So that particular file is not there. So what I need to do is make sure it's there. So I'm going to go to the P drive, CIS, source code, chapter 11, sales data, and then copy it to CIS250 and chapter 11 and paste it there. So now when I run this again, it comes up and says, hey, the number of months was 6, total sales was this, average sales was this. So guess what? All the data was there. So it found the data and there was no problem with the input. But again, if I go here, I'm going to open up this sales data. I'm going to change one of these numbers to a letter and then close it. And now when I run this, down here I get non-numeric data found in the file. So the first time I ran it, it got caught by this exception. This time I ran it, it got caught by this exception, input mismatch exception. So again, great way for me to capture errors and allow the user to fix them before we actually close the program. Okay, so that's kind of a review of what we did last week. We did a little bit more, but that kind of gives a very good overview. Okay, so getting to this throwing exceptions. So I'm going to go ahead and open up this date component. And if we look at it, Up here I've got my date component, so it's a regular class. I've got 3 instance variables called month, day, year. Here's my constructor. I know it's a constructor because it got the same name as the class. It has a string signature, and it says if the date string is equal to null, we're going to throw a new illegal argument exception. So we've seen try catches before. So try catch says try doing this. If you catch an error, basically do this. In this particular case, we're saying if something is null, meaning it's not going to cause an error per se, but we want to capture this error, we can actually say throw the error. Now, the reason we want to throw an error is if I go to this date component exception demo, here I have a try catch. And the try catch says try doing this. If you get an error, so that throw, so here's how I want you to think of throw. The throw says grab this error and throw it back to the calling program. That's all that means. Grab this error and throw it back. And so this guy right here then is going to catch it. And this is how it will get displayed. So if the date string is null, not a problem. Okay? So here is string null, so right now we know it's going to be null, so it's going to capture the error. So if I run it, it comes up and says null reference passed to a date component constructor. So right here I've got my get message. And again, that's provided for us